how are the algorithms dealing with it? I mean, there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on. And just going back to the basics and trying to understand and build a foundation, I think that's probably one of the more important things for really any law firm, but especially small law firms that are starting out, that are trying to grow, is to build that foundation.
Sharp strategies, sweet success. Hello, everyone, and welcome. You're listening to Sharp Strategies, Sweet Success. This is your host, Tiffany Swidensky. And today we have with us Jason Williams. I've known Jason Williams for actually quite a few years now, a longtime marketer of the Miley Law Group in West Virginia. And the funny story, I don't usually have funny stories in my introduction, but I do with this one. At one point, I was presenting for Great Legal Marketing and talking about a blog that we had written that caught like a Google snippet, like the old school
Yeah,
version of the
I
AI
remember. Yep,
interviews.
yep.
Yeah. And the article was what to do if the other driver was lying about the accident. And we ranked for it. We got the snippet for it. Great. I was presenting on it. And then I think when I was presenting on it, that's when I realized that another person had captured the snippet. And that was the Miley Law Group. And that
Yeah.
was Jason. So you
Yeah.
took an article from me. I'll never forget it.
I was excited to get that one too, because that was our first one. And I knew that I had swiped it from you all, because I'm pretty sure the way I had tracked it. And actually it was a surprise. I mean, I was kind of surprised. I don't know how, obviously I don't know, we don't know how Google algorithms work, but it just worked out that way. Just worked out that way.
I think you were in the room because and maybe I just made up this story in my head, but I made eye contact with
No,
you. I'm
I
like,
think I was in
Jason.
the room. Yeah, I think that was probably one of the meetings that we were one of the meetings that we were at. But yeah, I don't know that we held on to it very long after that, because I think somebody else swiped it from us. I don't remember. But yeah.
Well, I did kind of hijack how we normally do the podcast. Usually after I do my introduction, I let you introduce yourself, and I didn't do a great job of that this time. But Jason, why don't you tell everyone about yourself?
Sure. My name is Jason Williams. I was actually a marketing director for a they were PI law firm in West Virginia, Miley Legal Group. I was there 11 years and experienced a lot. I mean, we did we all across the gamut. We did television marketing, digital, a lot of digital, those kind of things. We did a lot of commercials and all that good stuff. But yeah, that's kind of who I am. Yeah.
Well, and you're striking out on your own. You're working as a fractional CMO, and kind of both of us are doing the same thing and following the same path. And I know for me, like when I was leaving my law firm, there are things that I missed and I wouldn't miss. And tell me, and I mean, it could be about anything, but I guess tell me what you'll miss. Like, tell me what you'll miss working as a dedicated marketer for a law firm.
Um, what I'll miss. I think one of the primary reasons I decided to take the leap, so to speak, is to number one, it's nice to work for yourself. It's nice to, as I've gotten older, priorities change, those kind of things. What I'll miss, probably the day-to-day contact with staff. That'll probably be the biggest thing, just because 11 years is a long time to be at the same office. And as I was there, the firm grew. So we had employees were coming in. And in fact, when I left, we had just hired like 2 or 3 people that they were still training. So because during the 11 years that I was there, we were continually growing. Obviously, there was that COVID blip, but we were continuously growing. So I think that's what I'll miss the most. And depending on what the future holds, we tried a lot of different things. I had, obviously, we had budget constraints, but we tried a lot of new things. I mean, we consistently looked at different things to do, what we could do better. We measured a lot. So that sense of freedom, again, depending on how things work out the next down the road, that could be something that I could miss as well.
For me, that was the same thing. I mean, striking out on your own is really freaking lonely. Like, I'm lonely on a normal day to day basis because I work from home and the
Right.
only people are here are kids and my husband. But you do the day, like, until you build a team, you don't really have any coworkers. And when you're a business owner, you never have any coworkers, so it's
Right.
just a whole different
Right.
dynamic and it's tough. So, what is a marketing tactic that I guess I don't want to like start any drama, but like How are you going to be marketing differently than compared to how you were at your old firm?
Well, I think what I would like to do, and another reason why I kind of am making this transition is I'd like to focus more on solo and smaller firms. And so throughout the years that was at the firm, we developed strategies that we used. And as we grew, those strategies had to change. And so I kind of want to go back maybe to the basics a little bit and work more hand in hand with, like I said, a solo or a small law firm, which is really different. I mean, it's really different than larger firm, a TV advertising firm. I mean, there's a lot of different things that go on and things that you're working with.
I'll tell you a story. So, a couple, I think it was like a year or two ago, one of my clients was interested in doing local service ads, and they heard a webinar with a guy who does local service ads, and they reached out to him. We scheduled like a sales meeting, right? And we were in on the sales meeting, and it was myself, my client, and two other attorneys. And when it was like a group sales meeting, which is weird, but anyway. And then when the guy started presenting and started talking about local service ads, like me and my client were asking like hard questions. And then it was time for somebody else to ask questions, and they kind of chuckled and they said, what is LSA? What are local service ads? They had no idea like that. And that's what we were in a meeting about was local service ads. And it's, like, kinda shocking, like, the difference between, like, some attorneys and some law firms, just, like, how much they know about the marketing space and how much they don't. And I bucked up against that a few times where you don't realize it, but you're kinda talking over somebody's head about marketing, and it always makes me, like, wanna take, like you said, a step back to the basics. Because like, "Okay, what are we talking about?" Like, what other kinda preconceived notions am I used to, like, holding in a conversation, and that sort of thing. What kinda questions are you getting any questions that, like, catch you off guard or anything like that?
Not really. I think, like you said, having a lot of experience in legal marketing, you have to kind of take a different view and look at it from their position, especially somebody who's new. They don't really, number one, they maybe not know what an LSA is. I mean, that's something we hear about every day. And really, the impact that truly has on the number of intakes and the number of cases that are brought in. I think that would probably be, or that would be the, I guess the most, that would actually probably be one of the more challenging things for me is making sure that I kind of pull back a little bit just to go back to what those basics were when I started 10 years ago. I mean, when I started 10 years ago, obviously LSAs didn't exist. We were building a Google AdWords account from scratch on our own. The website at that point, it was old and had a lot of backlinks and those kind of things. And so we did a lot of boots to the ground type work that there are a lot of vendors out there now that you can pay to do that. And now with the advent of AI, so not only are we worried about how vendors are meeting their goals, now we have AI thrown in the equation. And how is that impacting not only the vendors, but also the content that's coming out that the firms are producing, that marketers are producing, that how are the algorithms dealing with it? I mean, there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on. And just going back to the basics and trying to understand and build a foundation, I think that's probably one of the more important things for really any law firm, but especially small law firms that are starting out, that are trying to grow, is to build that foundation. And it could start with LSAs. It could start with updating content on their website or even building a website. I mean, just depends on where they're at and where they want to go.
Oh, yeah. Being out here in the wild where you're working with firms with various levels of marketing experience, because I think you and I are both kind of used to like the larger firms, I guess,
Right.
more than the true solos like you. So it's a different speed for sure. And it's weird because a fractional, you deal with one law firm that may be tremendously sophisticated, and we're talking about how long does it take to respond to an intake? What's the CPA? Do we want to do this new opportunity? Do we have the budget for it? We're having those conversations. And then with the smaller law firms, I'm teaching them, this is why we need to set up a business manager account. This is how we use a pixel. your SEO is here, it needs to be here. And it's just the conversations are so different. And unless you're a business like us, like where you're almost like an agency and you're dealing with a lot of people that fall under one umbrella, I guess all businesses are technically, you really don't see it. And, just to throw, well, I never like to talk about the attorneys who listen to my podcast, but I always find it a bit ironic how sometimes attorneys will complain about how their clients don't understand and they do things that they don't approve of and they wreck their own case.
Right.
And then
Right.
I see that same thing on the marketing end. It's like
Yeah.
they're doing stuff, they don't realize they're wrecking their own marketing or making it too impossible to claim a Facebook page. And so it's kind of ironic. I'm sure we
Yeah.
do it too.
Yeah. And even long term, larger firms that owners that have larger firms, they fall in that same gambit as well. I mean, because they're focused on so many different things, and we're lucky in a sense where our focus is just marketing. And
Oh yeah.
so we can develop those skills to kind of say, hey, this is what we think you should do based on whatever data that we can present. They're doing the same thing on a different level in the legal field and even just managing the business, just going through HR type stuff. And so, yeah. And as we both have probably experienced, and a lot of lawyers they're very smart and like to think they know a lot about a lot. And so that also creates a challenge trying to make sure that you as a marketer, your voice is heard.
Yeah. That's the tough part about like being an in-house marketer because it kind of works the same way with vendors. I was having this conversation with somebody yesterday about answering services, and they made a really good point. They say, I recommend the answering service that's the newest. And the reason for that is the newest one, their teams are new, they're ambitious, they work hard, they're trying to establish themselves as a company. But once the answering service is established, it becomes more like a routine call center. The quality of service starts to dip. And, talking from experience, working with practically all the law firm answering services that exist, they are basically the same. But, like, his recency bias, like, his take on it is just like, "Just recommend the most recent." Like, they're probably gonna be the best, and he's absolutely right. And it's that also that way, like, I think with in-house marketers, like, a full-time fractional CMO, I think the average tenure is 2 years
Mhm.
because there's a lot of expectations surrounding marketing, but a lot of, like, practical things that, like, weigh those expectations down, like claiming a Facebook page, if you can't tell what I was dealing with right before this podcast started. And everyone sees the output of marketing, the billboards, the commercials, the whatever, and then they don't appreciate, like, the internal administrative part of it, I guess.
Right.
And so, like,
Right.
people get excited, they get a new hire, and then it becomes reality, and then, "Oh, let's get a new marketer in here, let's hire a new agency or a new answering service." And it's sad. Honestly, it's kind of sad to think about sometimes.
Yeah. Well, I think that's because, like you said, not only with answering services, that you can push that onto anything like SEO or an SEO vendor, a newsletter vendor, a Google Ads vendor. I mean, and I think that becomes, hey, look, it's a new shiny thing. And that becomes a problem that a lot of marketers face just in general. I mean, I faced it. And so one of the things that I think becomes difficult is vendor management. And a lot of the times when like we're interviewing or I've been interviewing SEO companies and getting ready to make a change, it's hey, look, we know at the beginning you're going to be gung ho. You're going to try to impress us with whatever you can throw at our website to make us look like we're getting traffic like crazy. I'm looking at long term strategy. What are we going to do alongside that good, nice, flashy stuff to give us long term growth? Because that's what we want. And so I think that's a lot of just law firms in general. That's what they face when they're making decisions on vendors and who they want to use to marketing and maybe even their fractional CMOs. I mean, they go to conferences and such as presenting and so is saying, hey, how great they are. And they're like, well, let's try them too. Or we want to try them. Let's switch.
Yeah.
But I think there's a little bit of a failure there only because you don't get the long term benefit. Like when I first started in the industry, I mean, we were with the same website vendor for like 8, 9 years. And when I ended or when I left, I mean, I think we were changing vendors every 18 months. And that's a challenge. It's a challenge. But you do want the best and you want to find the best and you want to get somebody that's working well for you and for the firm. So there's kind of a line you have to walk there.
Well, and I can think of like being in this space. I mean, I think you've been in this space longer than me, actually. But like you see companies kind of rise and fall. Like I'm not going to name any names, but there's like a video vendor company that I guess they're still really popular. But like they came up and everyone loved it. Everyone loved the idea of it. Everyone bought it. I mean, that's the way it seemed to me. And then it's just another video. It's just another video that lives in their inventory. And that's the real reason shiny object syndrome is so bad. Like, and as a business owner, like I have experienced shiny object syndrome. So I know the other side of it. I experienced it first as an employee, but now as a business owner, it's like, oh, that's what it's like, you know? But the real danger of it is like, you got to commit to whatever you're going to do.
Right.
And if it's a shiny object, if it's the moment or whatever, then you're not really committing to it. You're just like trying it. Let's give it a try. But I
Right.
don't really think in marketing there's such a thing as like testing the waters. Like you really do have to, particularly with like mass media. Like there's no such thing as like spending 5,000 and just guaranteeing yourself a case out of it. Like that just don't happen.
No, and I think it also brings up the point with these vendors. One of the things that I'm interested in learning a lot about what the impact will be in our field is these venture capitalist funds that are buying all of these internet vendors, these SEO companies. And that's a whole nother layer. How is that going to impact long term? Not only their current clients, but future clients. And that's a whole new thing. I just don't know what impact that'll have, what conglomerate they're creating. And so that'll be interesting to see. And I think with the whole let's try type stuff, I mean, AI is just open that wide. I mean, there's so much stuff coming at everybody, firm owners, just legal processes, but also marketing and what you should do, what you shouldn't do, what the impact's going to be, and if it's going to be successful. And I don't think anybody truly knows at this point
Yeah.
how successful AI is going to be in any part of marketing or the legal industry.
Yeah. I mean, and there are so many facets to AI because, like, when you start talking about AI, you could be talking about AI search, you could be talking
Mhm.
about how to use AI, document review, automated processes. There's a new like AI tool that will essentially allow you to give AI full control over your computer and systems, which is like nuts to
Wow.
me, but okay. And there's so many facets to it that it's almost at this point when we start saying the word AI, I'm not even exactly sure what kind of AI we're talking about.
Right.
Um,
Right.
and I don't know. I don't know what your experiences with it have been, but and I'll echo what many other people have said. Like, I'm glad I grew up in a pre-AI era because I actually had to learn to write. Like, I actually had to learn
Yeah.
to do photo edits and like video edits and stuff like that. And that experience is still, it's not applicable, but it's still useful.
No, and I've tried to just think of AI as a tool, regardless of what you're doing with it. It's something to help, not necessarily for you to rely on. And that's kind of how I've tried to look at it. And then even when you're analyzing and looking at the different software that's being created, like you're like a big thing for the firm when I was leaving was answering services and how AI was going to tie into the case management software and how far you want it to go and allowing it to answer your phone, talk to your clients, forward calls. I mean, do intakes, schedule appointments. I mean, it's just where do you want to draw that line and make sure it's just a tool and you're not relying on it? Because I know there's this whole thorn that everybody's side about taking jobs. I think AI is going to make things maybe easier and it may eliminate some functions in some positions, but I don't know that it could ever completely take. I mean, you have to have some sort of human set of eyes looking at stuff at some level. You have to have, especially in an industry that is so heavily reliant on referrals and how customers and their clients are treated and how they respond. And AI and how the public interacts with AI, I think it's going to have a big portion of some of the decisions that get made. I remember earlier in the year, we were talking about AI and how we wanted to use that in the intake process. And we had one of the calls that we received, one of the leads that called in actually questioned our intake specialist, asking them if they were AI on the phone as they were talking to them. And I don't know if it's because she had a really nice voice, if she sounded computer generated, I don't know what, but that's in there, that's starting to become ingrained in our society now. Are you talking to a human or are you talking to AI? Even chat and responding to Facebook messages. I've had just dealing with some of the Facebook messages that I've received, people just flat out saying, I don't want to talk to a bot. I want to talk to a human. How do I get to talk to a human? And so I think that's still important. And so that's going to have to be addressed in some way.
Creative writing is kind of a hobby of mine, and when ChatGPT was first making its waves, somebody called me up and asked the question, kind of like a backhanded not a compliment, but like I don't know, they're trying to needle me, but they're like, "What do you think about this AI? Do you still want to write? Does it make you?" And like I at that point I'd already like felt bad about like how AI made writing like easier, almost disposable, but I had already gotten over it because it occurred to me, like, I don't read, like, a book just because it's good. A lot of times I read a book because the author is good. Like,
Right.
you could publish your own version of a Stephen King book and nobody care. It would not be a bestseller. Stephen King could like, fart on a keyboard and be a best-selling author. Publish a book for the month and be an author. People buy because it's Stephen King, not necessarily because it's a story. And, the same is true for businesses. People, don't necessarily buy marketing because of how convincing your website headline is. They buy your law firm or your law firm services because a friend recommended you, or you helped with their friend's car accident case, or they saw where you contributed the community or something else. Essentially, they're not buying your services because you said it the best. They're buying your services because they know you and on some degree trust you. And I think that's the part that people miss. And also the part that people miss is like, even though AI can write something, it still has to be good. And
Right.
I have not
Right.
seen good yet.
Right. And to me, what I was using AI for specifically in my previous role was a lot of fast content. Like if I needed to get something quick out on social media, I'd let AI write me something. I'd load pictures or whatever was going to be in the post and say, hey, give me a post. So it's more of a fast media thing, not necessarily a well thought out content or even creative material. It's just, okay, I needed this done quick. How fast can we do it? Let's move on and get it done. So that's kind of the way I saw it as a tool. I mean, I did actually use it to help rewrite some old like direct email campaigns to kind of go through it because that's a lot. I mean, you're looking at, if you have a well thought out, well built drip campaign, you're looking at a lot of emails and content that you've got to go through. And using AI as a tool to help you get through that stuff quicker is kind of how I see it and how I see the benefit of it.
Well, and I feel like a lot of people can relate to this, but with any job, I mean, I'm trying to come up with examples and I'm like, all of them require some level of writing that isn't necessarily creative or performative. It's rote, it's generic. We have to put a meta description on here because WordPress won't let us publish it without it. And even though meta descriptions Google hasn't cared about since 2018.
Right, right,
Um,
right,
so it's like a lot of routine stuff that you just have to, as a marketer, get out the door. And that's the piece I think people overlook about marketing. Marketing is production. It's making stuff. And if you want to make good stuff, there's a process to it that you have to follow to create it. And you have to make systems to recreate it. And it's not just like ChatGPT make an image of me sitting at a desk with a bunch of law books. It's like, yeah, you could have got that anytime. That's not, I don't know. But there's so much that's just routine in marketing, I guess, that again, like we tend to think of like the billboard, the ad, the ROI, but like there's work. AI made a lot of that work tremendously easier.
right.
And now we got to do other cooler stuff.
Right. And I think it'll help a lot of like one person marketing team. I mean,
Yeah.
it'll help those people because it'll help you get a lot more done. It'll help smaller, like 2 or 3 people. I mean, it's just to use it as a tool, I think is probably the best method of it. Who knows what they're going to develop? I mean, things could change within 6 months, but
Sure.
we'll see. I think the difficulty is going to be how to apply that and make sure, just like any other vendor, make sure that it's successful in what it's supposed to do and that
Yeah.
the business is benefiting long term from it. So,
Yeah. It makes doing the job easier, but and I'm rehashing something I said in a talk not too long ago, but like Morgan and Morgan didn't give OpenAI their proprietary marketing data. Like your competitors didn't release their CPA and marketing sources to OpenAI when they were developing ChatGPT. ChatGPT only knows what was publicly accessible on the internet. And so it really can't make marketing decisions because it doesn't have the data it can
right,
only see what others have done. And, I feel like it just like that the proof is like, will it actually help you get more cases? And never forget, everyone has that same tool. That's why I
right,
keep saying raise the floor, not the ceiling. Like it's not gonna. If it made if ChatGPT made people millionaires, everyone would be a millionaire.
right,
You know,
right.
and end of story. But it is the shiny new object,
It is.
the
It is.
shiny new object with a capital T. So, well, I don't know how much you want to share on this. I am curious, and if you don't want to, if you want to tell me and we'll edit it out, just let me know. But like as a fractional CMO, what have been your challenges so far?
Well, to be honest, I think the biggest challenge, I mean, is trying to figure out number one, what to offer and what people need. I mean, what law firms need at this point. I think that's been my biggest challenge is trying to determine what I want to do and what I want to help firms do. I mean, when you're in a day-to-day job, you know what you're doing every day. You have a specific goal, you have daily goals, weekly goals, monthly goals, and stepping away from that, I think that's probably been the biggest challenge is trying to figure out what direction I'm going to go in to not only be successful for me, but obviously also to be successful for
Yeah.
clients. I mean, that's probably what I've been thinking about and trying to maneuver through as I move forward in this new role.
That is a challenge. I mean, and sometimes there's a disconnect between what people buy and like what they actually need. Because I've seen business owners, law firms, attorneys buy things they do not need. That's not going to help them. That 6 months later, I get to be like, I told you so. And, and then on the flip side, like you're telling them, like, hey, like, let's train your team to ask for reviews. And then they hesitate. And it's just like that last thing is actually going to get you a lot more money than
Right.
the $20,000 video package you bought.
Right.
And so like there is a disconnect, and I hope the people who follow me or the people who work with me appreciate I'm just trying to help you. I'm not There are a lot of vendors out in this space who really just don't care. Like their
Right.
success is making the sale, and that's good for them. They're great for marketing themselves and building their own business, but they did so not on the principle of this will help law firms. They did it on the principle of this is something law firms will buy.
Right.
And I don't know, I try my best to help people, but everyone it's hard, because I'm also a vendor selling my
Right.
services, so
Right.
it's like a weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's another thing that I found has been a little bit challenging for me is selling myself. I mean, my whole career has been selling the firm, which is a lot easier, really, than trying to sell yourself. So that has been a challenge too. And because you're entering a world where these vendors, I mean, I'll tell you, the biggest, I don't want to say it's a surprise, but like LinkedIn, I mean, LinkedIn really hasn't been an active platform for the firm. And so I did not, just because the way that our audience has been set up, we in Northern West Virginia, we were lumped in in the Pittsburgh regional market. And so there really wasn't a way to utilize LinkedIn as maybe somebody in bigger cities could do. And so it really wasn't a big part of my day-to-day type stuff. But like that's obviously changed. But I get a lot of messages and connection requests from vendors and people that are salespeople that haven't looked at my profile. They're like, one guy was asking me about how I wanted to work on intake and those kind of things. And I'm like, dude, that's not even what I'm thinking about right now. And if you would have read anything on my LinkedIn profile, you would realize that's not what I'm looking for. I don't know if they just searched legal marketers or personal injury. They may saw the history. It's just been the craziest things, and it's daily. I mean, it's constant, and so I can only imagine what law firm owners are getting. If that's what I'm getting, and they're not even looking at my profile, I just can't imagine. And so, just like you said, there's vendors out there, and then there's some vendors that are just not scrupulous, and so
As somebody who's moderately good at self-promotion, I also feel like I'm better at promoting a law firm than I am at promoting myself sometimes. It's kind of funny, like, how shameless you have to be. Like, you just have to, like, whatever. Like, I'll put myself out here and hope it works, and I can't explain it. Somehow it does. And here's the maddening thing about LinkedIn for me, because I actually didn't start posting until I was getting ready to leave GLM. And I think as I was approaching leaving GLM was the first time I started posting on it regularly. And I was the first person at Great Legal Marketing and Ben Glass Law to really care about it. Before then,
right,
GLM was very anti social media. And so we just weren't on it very much. And so, like, I was testing the waters with it and wasn't getting very much in terms of engagement. I've been doing it for like 4 years now, so mercifully I get a few now. But like for years I got like felt like goose eggs on each post. But then I would like go to an event or talk to an attorney and they'd be like, "I follow you on LinkedIn, great stuff." And I'm like,
yeah.
"Well, like my like, 'cause it's messing with my confidence." I'm just like, "I'm gonna stop posting. Nobody's
Tell
liking
me you
it."
like me. Tell me you like me.
Yeah. It's just like, I was getting ready to give up, and now you're telling me you see it every day? Like, what the
Yeah.
heck, man? And so there's a lot of things, like, when it comes to promoting yourself, like, it's just invisible. Like, you do it and hope it's working, and you just gotta honestly, you gotta be, like, kinda crazy and just stick with it and be delusional, and
Yeah.
just assuming people will kinda come along with you eventually. I don't know.
And
That's
LinkedIn has a totally different algorithm than like Facebook. I mean, it's just different the stuff that you see. You see stuff like Facebook, it's usually about what's been recently posted. Every once in a while, you'll get something that's a little bit old, but on LinkedIn, I feel like I'm always getting like older stuff based on interactions. It's just weird. It's weird. Just something that you just, I guess, have to get used to.
yeah.
But yeah, it's just a different platform, different algorithm. And I guess that's probably across the board anyway. I'm not a big TikTok person. I'll do Instagram and Facebook, but I'm not a big TikTok person. When TikTok first came out, it kind of freaked me out a little bit because they were so
Yeah.
specific on the algorithms and you would go down a hole and like, how did you get there? And they kind of guided you there. So after like the first few times I got a little wigged out by where I ended up on TikTok, I was like, yeah, I think I'm not going to do this anymore. But
Yeah. When I first logged into TikTok, I think like the second video I saw was tornado footage. And like when I was a kid, I was mega into storm chasers. The movie Twister had a massive impact on me as a child. And then, but I kind of got over it. I grew up. And then like TikTok showed me a tornado video and I lingered on it. And
yeah,
for weeks and months, I just tornadoed. And what's
tornado,
terrible is I was
yes.
like, I am kind of into that stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
um,
It's
yeah, now you know I'm into tornadoes, I guess. That's a new information for my listeners. They're like, "Really? Twister, Tiffany?" Well, Jason, we went a little bit over on time. I have to admit I was trying because Charlie was on my podcast last week. The episode hadn't been released, and we recorded for nearly 2 hours. And I'm like,
wow.
this is the longest episode in Shark Cookie history. So I'm gonna have to step up. I'm not gonna make you sit on here with me for 2 hours though. We
Yeah.
almost want to probably talk about pluribus. Anyway, like I'll cut off there.
Charlie can talk. Charlie can talk.
Well, that's something he and I have in common. Yeah. We're a talkative little group. So, well, tell people how you want people to look you up and find and learn more about you.
Sure. Like I said, I'm becoming more active on LinkedIn. So I think LinkedIn is a big facet of that. I also have a website that I put out. It's very draft website. It's fractionallegalmarketing.com is what the website
Dang.
is. Yeah. And I've actually got it set up to where people can go through and actually set an appointment, schedule a calendar thing. I'm pretty proud of myself. I got that stuff. I got it all set up and it seems to be functional. But yeah, that's you can find me on LinkedIn. Obviously, I'm on all the other social media platforms as well. And then I do have the website, fractionallegalmarketing.com that I grabbed. So
Yeah,
that's where
that's
I can
so
be
cool.
found.
Kind of jealous. I'm
I was
actually,
well, I'll tell you, it was neat. But then when I'm trying to put my email on my business card, it's so long. And I had to adjust things so it doesn't look like really bad and not centered. My wife's working on it with me. She's like, that doesn't even look centered. I'm like, it's so long. And I was like, maybe that was a mistake, but it is what it is. I
yeah.
mean, but yeah.
Well, you got me thinking about sharpcookie.com. I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna get her one day. I just need enough money. Like,
Yeah, yeah. Well, I appreciate you inviting me on here. I mean, that's
oh,
like I said, this is my first one, so I didn't know what to expect. I was nervous. So
oh,
nervous.
I hope to be an easy podcast, and I try to make it easy I mean, we're just having a conversation. We're talking about legal marketing. We do it every day.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Jason. Thanks so much for listening and being here with me today. Tune in for the next episode, and we'll see you later.